Okay. So just taking a moment, taking as much space, as time as you need to arrive. And however you want to do that, however is right for you, whether that's moving or breathing, settling, you start where you are. Just re-listen to that one of those talks where Lama Rod says, "You start where you at, honey, not where you ain't." And so often these days for me, that's just starting where I am, whether I want to be there or not, especially if I don't want to be there. And just, you might start to notice maybe how the body feels seated or laying down. Find any comfortable position. Perhaps allowing yourself to feel held by wherever you're resting. If it feels okay, you might allow yourself to sink back a little more, but not if that's not useful. Perhaps a long exhale might let you settle. Just allowing this practice to serve you today and following my offering, but feeling free to veer and do whatever serves you. And just we'll start to bring in our homecoming circle. We're going to start to allow ourselves to be held in the center here. And you could pause. If it feels comfortable, you could take a hand to the heart, but only if it's useful. Inviting ourselves to be held in compassion in this practice and love. And then we'll begin to contemplate the first homecoming, our guides. So, any being that has been a teacher, a mentor, an advisor, a listener, you've gone to in the past for guidance, for support, for holding. And we don't have to get an image of them, just calling them in. All that's needed. And even just imagining that is enough. Imagine that you're inviting those beings, those guides into this space of love, passion, into this circle. Perhaps breathing if that feels useful, or even moving, anything might enable or help you to come home to being held by your guides, your teachers. And then the second homecoming is your wisdom text. So it can be any text, writing, quote, book, teaching sacred scriptures, any form of art, inspiration that in your life has helped you arrive to this moment, taken you through your path of journey. And in all our homecomings, we can welcome in the earth as well. Guides, inspirations can be nature as well, animals. And inviting this second homecoming to be in the circle, your wisdom, text, craft, artifacts, inspiration, and letting them join in the circle, in your homecoming circle of support. Feeling into their presence in any way that feels comfortable in your body, movement, breath, pause. Feeling perhaps held by this wisdom and inspiration. And then we'll move into the third homecoming, which is community. So, any community that you have been held, supported by in your life, you can call in to this homecoming. Any group, any space, any moment of community and support that you have felt, however brief, calling that into the circle, feeling perhaps into that support where you felt perhaps unconditional love or love. And you can also imagine a community, right? The future is unknown. You might imagine the community of support that you need. And inviting that homecoming into our circle, the homecoming of community, of being held, even briefly. Letting that really feel into your circle of support, perhaps sinking back into that. Always add a breath at any moment, a pause, movement. I'm going to move here into our fourth homecoming. These are ancestors and lineage. So reflecting on those ancestors who have wanted the best for you, who have held you in this self-compassion that we're cultivating. And allowing or calling them, inviting them into the circle, to our circle of care, our homecoming circle. You don't need to know who they are. You don't need to see anything. Allowing and inviting them and their love to surround you. These ancestors don't have to be related to you. They can be any guide that has passed that can surround you now. And then your lineages, so those who have helped to teach you or inspire a passion or things you love to do or think about or read about or reflect on. Who are those teachers, that lineage? Those wisdom keepers, inspiration holders. You call them into your space. And we don't have to know who they are. And let them take a seat with your ancestors in your homecoming circle. Inviting that in with whatever feels useful. And then moving into our next homecoming, the fifth homecoming, the earth. And reflecting on the earth below you. Perhaps with the earth, there could be a physical connection, maybe releasing down to our feet, feeling the weight and the holding of the earth. And notice that nurturing, that support that comes from below and reaches all the way out and up to the sky. And feeling the connection, the support, the care, the inspiration of the earth. And in whatever that means or inspires in you. Settling into the support of the earth. It might mean honoring, surrendering, or maybe there's another connection, a witnessing, a listening. What is there? Allowing that. And then inviting that energy, all the energy of the earth into the circle and letting that homecoming circle peace be part of our circle. And then we'll move into the sixth homecoming, which is silence. Noticing what silence feels like for you today. Is it the absence of sound? Is it the presence of sort of a quiet? What is the experience? Perhaps it's honoring these layers. Perhaps it's space. Could it be the space to hold whatever arises? It's vast. There's always more space, always more to arise. So there's this vastness, this silence, this space that can hold whatever comes up, no matter how heavy. Allowing yourself to invite silence into the circle, into the homecoming circle as our sixth homecoming. Perhaps breathing in and coming home to being held by silence. And then the last homecoming is yourself. Beginning to pause here in the sense of self. Where is that? Is it in the body? Is it in the breath? Considering your experience, your relationship to self, including all parts, right? And so we're returning to this container of self compassion, perhaps unconditional love. Can we hold all parts with this sense, this holding of love? Embracing this homecoming and showing up for everything, for it all. And when we show up, we hold, it's the responding, right? Rather than reacting, the responding in love. And then if we notice the reaction, it's more opportunity to respond with love to that inevitable humanness. And just allowing yourself to kind of settle into this homecoming of yourself in whatever way feels useful, right? And it could be sitting with this homecoming. It could be returning to another one that feels more like it's available or calling to you right now. I'm beginning to move with a few deep breaths or whatever feels useful as a transition to pausing with our whole homecoming circle and then beginning to invite the circle to exit. So before we do, we'll just kind of pause in that transition. You might sit lower or sink into the earth, perhaps as a way to hold that. And we'll honor our circle in gratitude on our lineage, our ancestors, the earth, our teachers, ourselves, each other. We can honor that in gratitude before we invite the circle to exit. And just taking your time. And making a special request to invite the ancestors to exit. And then beginning to reflect on coming out of this practice and without needing to do anything, just recognizing that transition. You might continue to allow the ancestors, the parts, the homecoming circle to leave if it feels like it hasn't quite, right? And however is useful for you to imagine, if that's a visualization or a release on the breath, if that needs a little more time to honor their exit. And however that feels useful for you, if it's movement or breathing, where you can start to invite yourself, invite the body back into movement, maybe invite yourself to come back and up and out. Take your just thanking, gratitude, bowing, honoring, whatever feels useful to honor yourself, this practice. I'll invite you to especially honor your heart, and then we'll honor the heart of each other in gratitude. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you being here so that I could practice. It's been a while, and I am just really grateful. And I also welcome feedback. I don't know that we have time for that now, but if you ever want to email me, I could offer that. If folks want to unmute, you're welcome to, right? Or
I had a few different homecomings, actually multiple homecomings pop in. Particularly, I think, I really appreciated how you paused to imagine a future group. That really something in my heart, like just sort of released. Thank you.
it worked for me too.
Allison bowing in. Last night, I facilitated a planning meeting at my local monastery that was a gift and a message. And lots of speaking of my body. And I believe my body doesn't lie. It's simply whether or not I will hear and receive what my body is saying. And within the next hour, I found myself watching a show, and amazingly, the episode that came on was sharing a real statistic in the universe of domestic violence that says that on average, a domestic violence receiver will leave 7 times before they leave for good if they make it to those 7 times to leave for good. And that's funny, given that I had just bowed out of that events planning circle a few minutes before that episode came on. And as a past recipient of domestic violence in my own life, so not fiction, I feel like my body is still speaking its truth. And it's still speaking an ultimate truth of the larger field of reality, of what interrelationship can look like, and how we all deserve a true homecoming, both to ourselves and also to be in homecoming interrelationship with the world. Allison bowing out.
I hope you can see all the hearts. So I hope you can see all the hearts. I think they faded before you looked up.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My dogs, Need I say more? Just the sound that was happening over there. I was yeah, unfortunately. Sorry. But yeah, thank you.
I'll just share. I'm not quite sure how this is related to anything, but what's coming up for me is how I've been working with I think part of this is Allison, you mentioned the body. As much as yeah, I don't even know how to phrase this. As much as I think in the past I've worked with how aggression that has been directed at me is there was an aggressor before that and an aggressor before that, that nobody enters the cycle of violence by being the source of aggressor. I think for me, one of the sort of side effects of Seven Homecomings is beginning to viscerally feel that the effect of the largeness of the violence. It's yes, it's a person, but it's also so much systemic, which for me gives, I think, a visceral sense of the depth and the breadth of the violence, and also helps me, I think also partly what you said about leaving, where sometimes, and also what Lama Rod says, you can't save anybody. Sometimes leaving is the only thing that you can do. And I have not always been capable of leaving. And I think part of the Seven Homecomings practices help me be okay with leaving and moving towards something else.
Yeah.
Just as a somatic trauma specialist, we have to have the capacity to be able to then process, respond, have our self-protective responses engaged to be able to then move from the harm. And I just feel like this gives so much capacity, so much resource, not only the practice, but the community. Yeah. So you all come in when that third homecoming comes in, the Lama Rod community, so dear to me.
Hmm.
I'm just feeling really grateful for the presencing of our bodies this morning. I started to get sick again last night, and this is the third time this winter. Literally, it's almost like the first of the month. I've gotten some kind of flu or sickness, and I'm just really grateful for the listening and for the getting closer with my body. This morning, I felt like I experienced a lot of space, really from the beginning, which is not always possible for me. And I think this practice helps me just wade in the deservingness of space and attune myself to that. And that's something that, and I don't really like the word deserve, but permission, I guess, to be able to embody that space and have that be something that I'm allowed. So I appreciate the focusing on just all of you sharing your embodied experiences this morning. It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you all. I appreciate all the shares so much and the practice. I've been struggling with how to lead this practice when it comes to the end. And I realized that lately I have not been having the homecoming circle exit. I have been having them dissolve into light and then having people breathe in the light and then send out the light, because I realize that I don't want them to leave. You know, yeah, so that's just, I just keep learning more about this and it keeps changing. And I really appreciate this opportunity to all of it. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Just note, just comment on the body thing is interesting for me because I am a yoga teacher, and I was noticing, I was curious if I was doing too much body stuff. But I think for me, especially lately, it just feels like I am, it's easy, not easier, but there's something in the body. I think that's what I was hearing through when I was hearing you talk, that I cannot, that if my brain is trying to figure out why does this still hurt so much, and it can't figure it out because it's somewhere in here. And Liz, I love to, you probably have more stuff about that than I do, but the more I get into the body, the more realize how tender and careful we need to be too, right? So I just appreciate that reflection. Yeah.
Thank you all. I'm going to sign off, but I'll see you next week. Thank you. Thanks for leading, Sarah.
Feel better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feel better.
Take care.
Thank you all so much. Got to get ready for work.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Thank
Be well.
you. Thanks
Thank you,
so much.
everybody. Thank you, Sarah. That was so lovely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. I'll see you